My name is Lauren Parker, and I'm 29 years old. On paper, I'm the kind of woman banks smile at and landlords offer the quiet corner unit to without even pretending to think about it. Stable job, clean credit, no drama that shows up in a file. I'm a project manager. My whole life is Gantt charts and constraints. People hand me impossible timelines, unrealistic budgets, and vague dreams, and I turn them into something solid. Tasks, deadlines, dependencies. I don't do miracles, but I can usually pull off something close enough that everyone forgets they asked for the impossible in the first place. For a long time, my personal life looked just as neat as my spreadsheets. I shared a two-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, Ryan. He's 27, works in marketing, the kind of guy who talks about branding and personal image, the way other people talk about the weather. He earns more than I do, around $85,000 a year to my 62, but if you listen to him talk, you'd think he was single-handedly holding up the economy. I handled the bills, the lease, the calendar. That part felt natural at first. I'm good with details. I like knowing exactly when the electricity draft will hit my account and how much wiggle room I have before the next paycheck. When Ryan moved in 2 years ago, it felt romantic, in a spreadsheet kind of way. My name on the lease, my name on the utilities, my little budget binder tucked on the shelf beside chipped mugs and bulk-bought coffee. He brought plants, a nicer TV, and clothes that somehow took over half the closet in a week. We never merged our finances. Ryan was very clear about that from the start. I just think it's healthier, he said the first time it came up, swirling his beer like he was on some talk show. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. No joint accounts, no messy breakups. It keeps everyone independent. Cool. I respected that. I'm all for financial independence. I wasn't in a hurry to hand anyone access to my accounts anyway. Except, there's theory, and then there's how people actually live. Ryan makes more than me, and he loves to remind me, subtly, constantly. Maybe we should do somewhere cheaper tonight, babe, he'd say, glancing at the menu. I know money's tight for you. Oh, that's a nice laptop upgrade, he commented once. Must have been a splurge on your salary. Or my favorite, don't worry about getting me anything expensive for my birthday. I know your situation. My situation. The thing is, I live comfortably. I save money, I budget. I just don't make as much as him, but I'm not broke. What I didn't fully register, not at first, was how those little comments always came paired with something else. I paid for literally everything that kept a roof over our heads. Rent, $2,800 a month, me. Internet, $80, my account. Electricity, $150, my name. Water and trash, $75, my account. Streaming services, about $60 total, my cards. Groceries, around $600 a month. I did all the buying. Meanwhile, Ryan paid for his car payment, his personal shopping, his gym membership, and his boxing classes. That was it. When I'd bring up splitting household costs, he'd smile like I was being silly. But you were already paying these before I moved in, he said once, leaning against the counter like a logic professor. Why should I pay for your apartment? Your apartment. He lived there. He used the water, the power, the Wi-Fi. He watched the TV I paid the streaming subscriptions for. He ate the groceries I hauled up 3 flights of stairs. But in his head, the bills were mine, and his money was his. I told myself it would even out. That once we were more established, once we got engaged, once some invisible milestone was passed, he'd step up. That was the story I quietly told myself, while I auto-paid the rent and let my savings grow more slowly than they should have. Then there was the dinner. 3 weeks before everything blew up, we were out with his friends, Melanie, Brittany, and Jessica, at one of those trendy places where the lighting is low enough to hide the price guilt on your face. We finished dessert. The server dropped the check in the middle of the table, and before I could even reach for my wallet, Ryan leaned forward and said, just a little too loudly, "Separate checks, please. I believe in everyone paying their own way. No financial dependence in relationships." Melanie laughed. "Dude, you're so independent. Must be nice not dealing with money drama like couples with joint accounts." Ryan beamed. "Exactly. I don't understand people who merge finances. Keep your money separate, ladies. Always." I sat there, my card already tucked between my fingers, thinking about the $2,800 rent that had hit my account that same morning, the electricity bill scheduled for tomorrow, the groceries in our fridge, all bought on my credit card. I smiled because that's what you do in public. Inside, something cold clicked into place. "You want separate?" I thought. "You want independent? Okay. Let's do this properly." That night, when we got home, Ryan flopped on the couch and started scrolling through his phone, probably posting some smug story about financial freedom. I went to my desk, opened my laptop, and created a new spreadsheet. I pulled up every utility bill for the last 24 months: rent payments, grocery receipts, streaming subscriptions. I dug into my email for order confirmations and into my bank history for every charge that kept that apartment running. Line by line, I put it all in. 2 years of living together, 2 years of expenses, 2 years of me quietly carrying a second adult. The total made my stomach flip. Then I divided it by 2. Ryan's fair share of household expenses for the last 24 months, $27,400. Ryan's actual contribution, zeros. I stared at the number for a long time. I wasn't going to ask for back payment. I'm not interested in trying to squeeze money out of someone who clearly has no intention of being fair. What I wanted was something else. A line in the sand. So I added one more sheet to the file, moving forward. Half the rent, half the utilities, half the groceries. His total, about $1,550 a month. Still less than what I'd been shouldering for both of us. The next morning, I printed the spreadsheet before work. The paper felt heavier than it should have. It wasn't just numbers. It was proof of something I hadn't wanted to admit. That evening, I waited until he'd finished talking about his day. Brand pitch, annoying client, office politics. When he finally took a breath, I slid the papers across the coffee table. "What's this?" he asked, already half smiling like it was a joke. "You're absolutely right," I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. "About keeping finances separate, so I did the math on a fair split of our household expenses." He glanced down. His eyes skimmed the columns, the totals. "Your half comes to about $1,450 per month," I said, "starting next month." He laughed. Actually laughed. "That's funny," he said, pushing the paper back toward me. "But seriously, what did you want to talk about?" "This," I said, sliding it right back. "This is serious, Ryan. If we're keeping finances separate, then we should actually keep them separate. Equal partners, equal expenses." The laughter went out of his face like someone flipped a switch. "But you've always paid these things," he said. "Why change it now?" "Because you live here," I said softly. "You use everything. I've been subsidizing your life for 2 years. I'm done." His jaw tightened. "You make less than me." "That's irrelevant if we're truly independent," I said. "You're the one who insisted on that. So, starting September 1st, I'll need your half of the rent and utilities in my account before the due dates." He stared at the spreadsheet again, like the numbers might rearrange themselves into something less offensive. "This is insane," he said finally. "I thought you understood my philosophy. What's mine is mine. What's yours is yours." "I do understand it," I said. "That's why I'm done paying for both." The air between us felt different after that. Denser, sharper. He didn't flip out the way I half expected. He didn't throw anything or storm out right away. He just went quiet. For 2 days. No good morning kiss, no casual touches in the kitchen. Just cold silence and the heavy sound of someone realizing the free ride might be over. I lay awake the second night, listening to him breathe on his side of the bed, staring at the ceiling. I thought I was just asking for fairness. I had no idea that spreadsheet was the first domino, and that the rest of my life was already tipping with it. The silence lasted exactly 48 hours. I know because I counted. Ryan moved through the apartment like a ghost, except ghosts don't slam cabinet doors and sigh loudly near the person they're haunting. He'd scroll on his phone on the couch, volume up just enough that I couldn't block out the sounds. He'd brush past me in the kitchen without looking at me, but he also wouldn't leave the room. If he truly didn't care, he would have gone to a friend's place. He cared, just not in the way I used to think he did. On the third night, he shifted strategies. I came home to the smell of garlic and butter, my favorite. The table was set, candles lit, the good plates out. Ryan was in a fitted button-down he usually reserved for client meetings. "Hey," he said, like nothing was wrong. Surprise. There was pasta, salad, a bottle of wine we'd been saving for something special. I sat down because it felt stupid to eat standing up out of stubbornness. We made it halfway through the meal before he pivoted. "So," he said casually, twirling his fork in his pasta, "I've been thinking about what you said, about me, contributing more." I watched him over my glass. "Okay," I said, "what have you been thinking?" He flashed the soft, apologetic smile that had gotten him out of more than one uncomfortable conversation in his life. "You're right," he said. "It's not fair that you do everything. I can buy groceries sometimes. Maybe cover groceries one month, you cover the next. That way it doesn't feel so transactional." Groceries are part of the $1,450, I said. Half of everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, streaming. Not just the part that makes you feel generous. His smile flickered. But that's almost my entire fun budget, he said, as if he'd just revealed a tragic medical diagnosis. Your fun budget? I repeated. Yeah, he said, irritation creeping into his voice. I make 85, Lauren, but I have expenses. My car payment, my credit cards, my clothes, my boxing membership. I can't just throw money around. I'm not rich. Neither am I said quietly. I have expenses too, and I've been covering your housing expenses for 2 years. He set his fork down harder than necessary. I thought you loved me, he said. There it was, the pivot from logistics to guilt. I do, I said. That's why I put up with this for as long as I did. Then why are you making money such a big deal? His voice rose. Money shouldn't matter in relationships. You're the one who's always preaching about independence and equality, but now you're nickel and diming me like I'm some roommate off Craigslist. Charging you half the expenses for the place you live isn't nickel and diming, I said. It's the bare minimum. He shook his head, pushed back from the table, and stalked off to the couch, leaving his half-finished plate on the table like a prop in a scene he'd walked out of. The guilt didn't stop with him. 2 days later, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Hello? Is this Lauren? A woman's voice asked. Clipped, practiced, just this side of polite. Yes? This is Eleanor, she said, Ryan's mother. Of course. I'm calling because Ryan is very upset, she continued. He tells me you're demanding money from him now, threatening to kick him out if he doesn't pay you half his salary? Half his salary? Interesting translation. I'm asking him to pay half the household expenses, I said. Rent, utilities, groceries. The same way I would with any adult living with me. A real woman doesn't make her man feel small over money, she said. You should be happy to support him while he focuses on his career. He makes $23,000 more than I do every year, I said. I'm not sure why that means I'm the one who should be supporting him. That doesn't matter, she said sharply. You should want to take care of him, like he takes care of you. I almost laughed. How exactly has he been taking care of me? He told me he buys groceries, she said. Sometimes, I said, when it looks good on Instagram. She huffed. You young women are so obsessed with keeping score. In my day, we didn't turn relationships into ledgers. In your day, I said, was your boyfriend living with you rent-free while you paid for everything in your name? She hung up without answering. Ryan clearly expected that phone call to break me. Instead, it did something else. It snapped something clean in my chest. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He'd built an entire story where I was the unreasonable one for asking him to contribute like an adult. The universe, however, has a sense of humor. A few days later, he went to brunch with his friends, Melanie, Brittany, and Jessica. I know this because he came home later than usual, jaw clenched, energy vibrating off him. What happened? I asked, already knowing the answer would matter. Nothing, he snapped. I raised an eyebrow. He lasted 10 seconds. Fine, he said, throwing his keys on the counter. You want to know? I told them about your little spreadsheet. Of course he did. And, I asked. And I thought they'd understand, he said. I thought they'd get how messed up it is that you're suddenly demanding money and making me feel pressured. And? I repeated. He rubbed his face. Brittany did the math. Of course she did. Brittany's an accountant. She can smell numbers from another zip code. She asked how much rent is, he said. How long we've been living together. How much you've been paying. I told her you pay rent and utilities and groceries and everything. I stayed very still. And she just stared at me, he said. Then she choked on her mimosa, literally. Melanie had to thump her on the back. I could picture it too clearly. What did she say? I asked. She said, he muttered, wait, you haven't been paying anything toward rent. My boyfriend makes twice what I do, and we still split 50-50. He mimicked her voice badly, but the words landed clean. Melanie said, that's like she's been giving you $1,450 a month in free housing. No wonder you can afford those sneakers and that stupid boxing gym. Your housing is free. He swallowed hard. So yeah, he said bitterly. They all think I'm some kind of freeloader now. Hope you're happy. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Because in that moment, I realized something. I didn't want to spend the next 5 years begging a grown man to be fair. Ryan, I said quietly, I have a proposal. His eyes narrowed. If this is about your spreadsheet again. It is, I said, but not the way you think. He folded his arms. Fine, what now? I've been doing more thinking, I said, and planning. He snorted. Of course you have. You say you believe in financial independence, I said, in everyone paying their own way. So here's how we honor that. I took a breath. I'm moving out. The words hung there between us, almost visible. I found a great one-bedroom for $2,400, I said. I'm signing the lease. Moving October 1st. You can take over this lease if you want or find your own place. His face went through at least 4 emotions in under 5 seconds. You can't just leave, he said finally, voice strangled. We live together. We're us. You're the one who taught me that what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine, I said. This lease is mine. I'm choosing to let it go. You're free to apply to take it over if you qualify, or you can find somewhere else. Where am I supposed to live? He demanded. Wherever you can afford, I said, with your $85,000 salary. He stared at me like I'd stabbed him. He tried everything then. Tears, promises. I'll do better. I'll help more. You're overreacting. The greatest hits of someone watching their comfort evaporate. But I'd crossed a line inside myself that even his best performance couldn't uncross. A week later, he made his biggest mistake yet. He posted on social media. I was at my desk at work when my phone buzzed with a screenshot from Aisha. You seeing this? Ryan's post was at the top. My girlfriend is kicking me out because I won't give her half my salary. Men are trash to women when it comes to money. I thought love wasn't supposed to be a transaction. The comments were already rolling in. A few of his acquaintances chimed in with sympathy emojis and "You deserve better, bro," and "Women are so entitled these days." My hands shook, but not with fear. With focus. I opened my laptop that night and pulled up the spreadsheet. The 2 years of expenses. The total. The neat little Ryan's share column that he'd pretended not to understand. Then I went back to his post and commented. I didn't rant. I didn't insult him. I didn't even use adjectives. I just posted screenshots. Rent totals. Utility bills, grocery averages, a clear side-by-side of my payments and his contributions, a whole column of zeros on his side. And I wrote, for context, here's what I've actually been paying for the last 2 years while he paid $0 toward housing. I'm not asking for half his salary. I'm asking him to pay his own way. The comments shifted. Fast. Wait, you haven't been paying rent at all? Imagine making $85K and crying about paying for housing. She's not asking for your salary. She's asking you to contribute to the bills you benefit from. Dude, this is embarrassing. His post vanished within an hour. But the internet is forever. People had already screenshotted it, shared it in group chats, sent it back to me from 3 different directions. That's when Ryan panicked. He came home that night with his phone gripped like a lifeline. Fine, he said, not even waiting until I'd taken my shoes off. I'll pay it. Pay what? I asked. The stupid $1,150, he snapped. Half of everything. Happy now? I looked at him for the long moment. Actually, I said, there's been a development. He blinked. What development? I already signed the lease on the new place, I said. The landlord here says you can apply to take over this one if you qualify. You'll need first, last, and security deposit, about $6,600. His mouth fell open. I don't have that, he said. What happened to your $85,000 salary? I asked. I have expenses, he said weakly. My car, my credit cards, my memberships. Maybe, I said softly. You should have thought about that during the 2 years you were living for free. He stared at me, and for the first time since we'd started dating, I saw it clearly. He wasn't scared of losing me. He was scared of losing the life I'd built that he'd been living in for free. And that, more than any spreadsheet, told me everything I needed to know about how this story would end. The next week felt like watching a building collapse in slow motion. Ryan cycled through every emotion like a playlist he couldn't turn off. Panic, charm, fury, denial, then back to charm again. By Monday, he'd moved on to full-blown damage control mode. The first call came from our landlord, Dmitri, a gruff 60-something Russian man with a thick accent and a fondness for punctual rent payments. Lauren, he said, your boyfriend called, crying. Said you leave him with no place to live. I sighed. Did he mention he makes $85,000 a year? Yes. He also said he has no money for deposit. That sounds about right. Dmitri snorted. He lived 2 years free? Saved nothing? That is not my problem. I find new tenants. He chuckled. I like you, Lauren. You pay on time. You keep clean books. He, not good tenant material. I almost laughed. Dmitri had summarized my entire relationship better than therapy ever could. By Wednesday, the smear campaign had started. Ryan began calling mutual friends, twisting the story until I'd apparently become a calculating villain who'd trapped him financially and then kicked him out to the street. He even reached out to Connor, our mutual friend who happened to be a lawyer, hoping for sympathy. Connor texted me instead. He told me you blindsided him with rent after 2 years. I asked if he'd ever paid anything. He said no. Then I told him to stop wasting my time. You're not evicting him. You're ending charity. Connor always did have a way with words. The group chat exploded 2 days later. Ryan posted a wall of text about how I was suddenly demanding money, that I'd humiliated him online, that I was financially abusive. He ended with, "No one deserves to be treated like a walking ATM." Aisha replied first. "You've been living rent-free for 2 years. You were the one using someone else as an ATM." Connor followed. "Wait, you didn't pay any bills? None? And she's the abusive one?" Then Brittany dropped the hammer. "Lauren showed us the receipts, remember? Dude, she's been paying $2,900 a month while you paid zero. That's $70K over 2 years. Maybe start there." The silence in the group chat lasted 10 minutes, a record, before Ryan left the conversation entirely. That's when he entered what I can only describe as the extinction burst. It's a term I'd once heard in a behavioral psych podcast. When someone's manipulation stops working, they escalate. Boy, did he. Friday morning, the security desk at my office called. "There's a man downstairs with a U-Haul," the guard said. "Says he needs to speak to you. Says it's an emergency." My stomach dropped. I went down. Ryan was standing by the truck, wearing sunglasses, trying for confident, and landing somewhere between frantic and sweaty. "I'm taking my stuff from the apartment," he announced. "Okay," I said. "What stuff?" He gestured vaguely. "The TV, couch, bed, dining table, basically all the furniture." I folded my arms. "You mean the things I bought? With receipts that have my name on them?" His jaw twitched. "We bought those together. I have bank statements showing otherwise." "You can't just leave me with nothing," he yelled. "You left yourself with nothing," I said quietly. "You lived rent-free for 2 years. You could have saved for anything you wanted." He opened his mouth, then shut it. Dimitri, who'd clearly been listening from the stoop, shouted over, "I changed locks already. For new tenant next month. He can take his clothes only." Ryan turned scarlet. "You can't just—" But Dimitri was already walking away, muttering, "Not my circus." I went back inside the office without another word. That weekend, the desperation turned creative. He started texting me late at night, long messages full of half-truths and bargaining. "We don't have to be enemies." "You're right, we should share expenses. Maybe joint accounts make sense after all. True partnership, right?" The irony almost made me laugh. He wanted joint accounts now, the same thing he'd mocked me for wanting months ago, because he couldn't afford life without me. I replied once, "Ryan, partnership isn't the same as dependence. You want access, not equality." He didn't answer for a day. Then came the classic. "If you loved me, you'd help me." I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing back. "I did help you for 2 years." No response. By mid-September, the stories he told people got wilder. He said I'd changed the locks to lock him out of his home. He claimed I'd stolen his furniture. He told Jessica I'd used him for content. I was half expecting him to say I'd faked the moon landing next. The best part? He tried to file an unlawful eviction claim against me. Connor, ever the professional, actually took the call. He told Ryan, "Buddy, you can't be unlawfully evicted from a place you never paid to live in." Ryan hung up. 2 weeks before my move-out date, he showed up again. This time he wasn't angry. He was pleading. He came to the door holding a smoothie and looking like someone rehearsing humility in the mirror all morning. "What if we started over?" he said. "Clean slate, shared bills, shared accounts. I'll transfer my paycheck to you every month. You can handle it all. You're better at that stuff." I just stared at him. "You want joint accounts now," I said slowly, "because you've realized you can't afford to live alone." He hesitated. "No, I realize partnership means sharing everything." I smiled, not kindly. "Partnership means contributing," I said, "not handing over control when it's convenient." He tried again. "Please. I can't afford a decent place on my own. You know what rent is like right now." "You make $85,000 a year," I said. "Yeah, but my car payment is $700. My credit cards are $500. My gym, my subscriptions. And that's my problem how?" He exhaled sharply, like the air itself offended him. "Because I thought you loved me," he said again. "I did," I said, "but you mistook comfort for love." The next night my phone buzzed at 1 a.m. A text. "I think I might be pregnant." I blinked, then laughed, out loud, alone, in bed. "Good luck with that," I typed back. "You'd need a uterus for that story to work." He didn't reply. The following day, he tried a new approach, telling people he'd been paying utilities all along. One screenshot from my online banking history cleared that up quickly. Then he threatened to sue me for emotional distress. Connor texted again. He asked if he could sue you for making him feel poor. I told him to Google not how that works. The final straw came a week before my move out. Ryan arrived at the apartment with someone new. A tall, tan woman in designer sunglasses and an oversized bag that screamed least Portia energy. "This is Tessa," he said, loud enough for the neighbors. "My girlfriend." I blinked. "2 weeks, you move fast." He smirked. "Tessa knows how to treat a man. She doesn't make everything about money." Tessa looked around the apartment, frowning slightly. "How much is rent again?" $2,800, Ryan said proudly. She did a quick calculation on her phone. "Babe, I can't afford that." Ryan's smile faltered. "But you drive a Porsche." "It's leased," she said flatly. "I make 50." The silence was delicious. "I thought the Porsche meant," he began. "Nope," she said. "It means I like nice things and bad math." They left together, her annoyed, him panicking. And I knew I'd just watched a sequel starting in real time. Moving day. I loaded boxes into my car. The air felt lighter. Ryan showed up one last time as I was locking the door. "I'll pay it all," he said. "All the back rent. Everything. Just stay." "With what money?" I asked. I'll get a loan." "That's insane." He grabbed my hand. "Please, I'm going to be homeless." "You make $85,000 a year," I said gently. "You'll be fine." "I can't afford anything decent." "Maybe you should have thought about that while you were living for free." He actually dropped to his knees in the parking lot in front of 2 neighbors carrying groceries. "Please, Lauren," he said, voice cracking. "I love you." I looked down at him, the man who'd once lectured me about independence while living off my paycheck. "No," I said quietly, "you love free rent." I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, phone in hand, already calling someone else, probably rehearsing the next version of his story. He'd spend the next few months telling people I ruined his life. But I knew better. All I did was hand him the bill for it. Stop! The weeks after I drove away felt almost unnaturally quiet. No passive-aggressive sighs, no half-empty yogurt cups left in the fridge, no constant hum of someone scrolling through videos at 2 a.m. The silence wasn't empty, it was relief. 2 months later, I'd settled into my new 1-bedroom. Smaller, yes, but the first night I paid rent from my own account for a place that was mine, I actually smiled when the payment cleared. Every bill I paid was for me. Every light I turned on was mine to use. Ryan, meanwhile, was still trying to spin the story of his fall. He couldn't afford the deposit for our old apartment, and Dimitri wouldn't co-sign him. His parents refused too, apparently still convinced a good woman should take care of her man. So he started begging friends for a room. Brittany, ever pragmatic, agreed to rent him her spare for $800 a month. He lasted 3 weeks. When rent came due, he tried his old charm routine. Ryan, real friends don't charge each other. Brittany, real adults pay rent. She posted the exchange on social media with the caption, "Entitlement is not a love language." Within hours, the comments filled with people sharing their own Ryan stories. He'd asked Aisha if he could move in for a few weeks and help with chores instead of paying. He'd offered Connor business help in exchange for crashing on his couch. He'd even asked Tessa's mother if he could stay in her basement. She replied, "I don't even let Tessa live here free." Then came the call I didn't expect. "Eleanor, Lauren, we need to talk about Ryan." I met her for coffee out of morbid curiosity. She looked exhausted. "His living situation is unstable. We're worried." "I'm not," I said. "We were wondering if you'd consider taking him back. We'd even help with his expenses." I almost laughed into my latte. "Now you want to help? Where was this energy when I was paying everything?" She winced. "We thought he was exaggerating, but he's been borrowing money from everyone. Owes Brittany 3 months' rent, borrowed $2,000 from Melanie, $1,500 from his cousin." "How?" I asked. "He makes $85,000 a year." "Credit cards," she admitted. "He's living on them, maintaining appearances." There it was, the word that defined him better than boyfriend ever had. Appearances. A week later, he texted me from a new number. "Ryan, can we talk? I've been thinking. You were right about the joint accounts." Me. "No." Ryan. "Hear me out. I've learned my lesson. True partnership means sharing everything." Me. "You want access to my money." Ryan. "No, equality. I want us to be equals." Me. "What's your current debt?" Long pause. Ryan. "About 18K. 18,000 in 2 months. I had to maintain my image," he added. "My job requires it." "Your marketing job requires Gucci?" I asked. "You wouldn't understand," he wrote. "Oh, I do," I replied. "You want a life raft, not a partner." He blocked me after that. Through mutual friends, I learned the rest. Brittany finally evicted him. His parents made him pay rent to live in their guest room. Tessa dumped him after he asked her to co-sign a car loan. He's been selling designer sneakers on Marketplace to stay afloat. The man who preached financial independence now depended on everyone. As for me, I'm doing great. My apartment's smaller but peaceful. I started dating again. A guy named Caleb, 28, works in tech, makes more than I do. When we went out the first time, he insisted on splitting the bill. That's what adults do, he said, shrugging. When I told him the story, he blinked. She lived rent-free for 2 years and called you controlling when you asked her to split rent. That's impressive. He grinned. You and I could afford a nicer place someday. 50-50, of course. For the first time in years, that sounded right. People love to say love isn't about money. They're right. That's exactly why someone who truly loves you would never watch you pay for everything and call it independence. Equal partnership means equal contribution, financial, emotional, domestic. Ryan wanted the benefits of a traditional setup with the freedoms of modern independence. He couldn't have both. In the end, the math balanced itself. He got debt, I got peace. And karma? She just followed the numbers.